what's happening to ODM. They are conducting a retreat in Mombasa currently, and the Deputy Secretary General, Catherine Omanyo, says they've also invited those considered rebels, mainly Linda Mwananchi. I don't know. There seems to be a change in the kind of rhetoric and the approach, especially by the Linda Ground group within ODM. Because the feeling is that probably they were a bit too weak when it came to negotiating for the coalition with UDA. They seem now to be extending an olive branch to the other side. Do you think that is what is happening, Fuamba, within ODM?
You know, like we started this discussion, Kenyan politics is full of selfishness. Mm-hmm. So I think the current Linda Ground team thinks that if they have the group of Sifuna together with them, they'll have a greater bargaining power. Mm-hmm. And some of them are even getting into the blackmailing mode. I saw one of the governors saying that if they are not given all the monies owed to them by the exchequer, they are not going to get into the negotiations with the UDA. You know, it's just blackmail here and there. But it is open out there that they are stronger if they are together and weaker if they are not together. Do
you feel that this new realization that they should go into this together is a realization that they have done it the wrong way, that probably UDA appears to be obviously the stronger person in this, or the stronger party in this partnership?
The most obvious thing is that UDA was accommodating ODM because ODM had been orphaned by the death of Right Honorable Raila Odinga. So it's some kind of an extension of an olive branch that the president invited them to, so that they work together.
Wamekuja kusaidiwa.
They are being assisted because Raila is no longer around. It was like ODM in person and in word. Therefore, without Raila, ODM is not that significantly tangible. Wow. That's why the Linda Mwananchi team is posing a challenge to the Oburu team. Mm-hmm. And for them to attempt to get to where Raila left them, they have to join hands and work together. It would be better that way if they negotiate when they are one unit as opposed to being apart.
I want us to look at the headline, the way these papers have covered that story about ODM. The Standard thing just talks about the retreats or the wrangling within Siaya, but I think it's in the Daily Nation that a whole page had been reserved for this. Yes, page 7 of the Daily Nation. Orange Party retreat opens in Mombasa amid deepening rift. Meanwhile, Western region at crossroads as ODM influence weakens. It would appear, Dr. Kanchori, that we are coming across this word weak as we continue over and over discussing ODM. You said earlier that ODM is done. Do you think if at all they manage to reunite with the so-called rebels, that could change?
You know, I was once a member of the Orange Democratic movement, an advisor to the Youth League. And ODM was Raila, and Raila was ODM. And barely, is it 6 months now, since his demise, may his soul rest in peace, his own children have come to fight each other. You saw what happened in Kisumu the other day. Professor Tomo Ojienda came in with a group of goons, and now the Orengo is being chased away from a forum or a funeral, which is unprecedented. And I think, I don't want to accuse the government, but I think from my own political analysis, Ruto was behind the division in ODM. Because you remember in the funeral of BAMBA, he said that I'm not going to allow people from ODM to take this party to the opposition, and he's on record. He spoke as if he had a stake in ODM. And now we have a Linda Ground, we have a Linda Mwananchi, and I saw the late Prime Minister's sister saying, we want to have a faction of Linda Raila legacy. And I think ODM is in crossroads. Secondly, we have seen the NADCO report 3 years down the line. And you know that was the basis for the arrangement of the broad-based government. And it was very clear. electoral reform, economic reforms, and what was the third one? Electoral, economy, and governance. And when they were commemorating the anniversary for that, they have now pushed. And we see now the president crying that amewachia watu Mungu, Bomet is region is in crime. I don't think the issue of the NADCO now is in the agenda. And basically, you know, one of the reasons for the NADCO, they needed to have an office of the official opposition. There are very critical things that needed to be sorted out. With this crisis, and ODM wanting the political parties' funds from the government, now you even don't know which faction are you going to give. They are even now, you saw the newspaper, they are saying the instruments of ODM are safe with the trustees, because now it's very serious that even you don't know who has what. And for them to, and I like the Sifuna team, because they have gone the Kangata way, and they have now championed their own political direction. And I think whoever had crafted the division of ODM overdid his own assignment. Because now
he overperformed.
He overperformed. And for them even now to be inviting the Sifunas, I don't think we'll be putting our eyes on the television, see the reaction, because
if anyone will show up.
If anyone will show up.
Senator Ledamo Olekina was a member of ODM. Tweets here and says, "Dear ODM family, we need to stop fighting each other over distractions and start building real wealth. The people at the top aren't at war. They are too busy engineering division to keep us distracted while they profit of it." The people at the top. It would appear the people you're talking about and who outperform themselves. Do you really think that now is when ODM are realizing, probably we're being played? Someone has actually just cracked this different ways.
And I go back to my 50%, what we see is just what we see, but the rest is actually other shenanigans. And when you look at Oburu Odinga, by the way, I look at the ODM problem, number one, as a family problem first, before it became a party problem. It's a family problem because it's Raila, he's, you know, Oburu, a brother to Raila, who was given the mantle in a very suspicious manner. Note that they called for, you know, open meetings and then say, we want to elect so and so. And then there is always in families, Fred, undercurrents, you know, where you're doing it right, but I'm not happy with you anyway. So when Raila was around, he probably didn't have many people who actually were really admiring him. And one of that, I think, I could be wrong, but from how they have conducted this business, then Oburu was not really, you know, endorsing him from his heart. And also that, because if you see what Raila's children did immediately after Oburu took the seat and how he responded and then how it turned out to date. Those are family issues, but I'm just trying to analyze that there are always undercurrents, how family management comes up, and once the leader of the family dies, then you start to see those things. Now, number two, there are political elites in Nyanza who never believed in Raila Odinga. Many of them. I'm not wrong to say, probably Prof. Agenda was actually one of them. I'm just singling out because of what he did in Nikal's, you know, father's burial. And there are many like those. In fact, there are so many, we know them, that they always were hanging on behind Raila, but they didn't believe in his philosophy. Now that he has gone, they've ganged up together. And you can see every single, you know, every good meaning supporter of ODM believes in Sifuna. Why? Because they believe Sifuna genuinely followed Raila Odinga and carries his spirit to date. So I think now saying, oh, now Sifuna, we invite you, I think already the horse has bolted. They cannot,
There's no going
it
back.
amounts to nothing. It really amounts to nothing, by the way, because now Sifuna has also realized, thanks to political patronage, I mean, from citizens, now he has realized I actually have numbers. I mean, why? At one time he said, what do I have to do with Oburu Odinga? Now, everybody, did you, this Gachagua, was in a rally somewhere and he said, mimi na watu yangu yote. Then he named all the political, you know, the torchbearers.
Sifuna, yeah.
Then when he came to Sifuna, the crowd was standing up. I mean, that is the name they want to hear. So I think now they've realized that they are wasting their time. And that's why I said in Nyanza, and Western region, there will be a huge exodus. William Ruto would easily lose by 2 million, not win by the 2 million that was mentioned earlier.
And exactly the headline on page 7 about Western region at crossroads as ODM influence weakens.
And if we come to
3 minutes, 2 minutes each for your final words on this.
Fred, there is one point I'd like to clarify. I think when the president raised concern about the registration numbers in Bomet, he was talking about maximizing the potential. He was not complaining about them not meeting the target. If you look at the numbers released by IBC, and they were discussed here yesterday in this studio, the numbers within the president's strongholds of stretched, they went beyond 100% in terms of what was expected or what was targeted by IBC. So that should be not be confused to mean that he was complaining that the numbers had not reached where they needed to get. Then there's this issue of Linda Mwananchi. I think Sifuna has emerged as a good political leader. It's an advantage on his side, but I think he needs to be very calculative, because ideologically, I do not see the Raila ideology meeting with Gachagwa's ideology. So eventually, when it gets to the decision of the flag bearer for the opposition, there's serious concern that no one will want to identify with a coalition that is manipulated and run by Rigathi Gachagua, who does not believe in nationhood. He does not believe in the spirit of nationalism. He believes in tribalism. He believes in regionalism. So how will other people who do not come from his community be accommodated under that arrangement if he's the one who is calling the shots? And if he has a puppet as a presidential candidate or the person who is the flag bearer on that side? So that is why ultimately when the rubber meets the road, towards the end, when we get towards the elections, people make decisions. Are those ones who will be in the opposition and those ones who will support President William Ruto. And there is a very high likelihood that people who believe in Raila Odinga's ideology, those who are in Oburu's group and those ones who are under Sifuna right now, will converge at some point and be behind President William Ruto. Anything outside that, it will mean that the opposition will have various presidential candidates, including Sifuna, Kalonzo, and many others, and that means they are more fragmented. So either way, there's no likelihood that the opposition will carry the day.
All right. A final comment, Dr. Kanchuri.
First, for him to accuse Gachagua of what he's saying, we saw in the recent by-election that DCP had a candidate in Narok, in Western Kenya, and in Nairobi. So, and actually Gachagua has taken over from Raila. Most important, when you saw Otsos being attacked in Kisumu, it was not just a coincidence. It was a calculated plan to divide the Nyanza people and the Western region. And you saw when the Linda, the Sifuna movement, went to Kisumu, and they say that we, the people of Western, the Luya, cannot be divided with the Luo. And that's why I'm telling you, the person who was working the strategy to divide ODM, it was a government plan from the president's decision that time during Raila's funeral. I think now that has failed to work. When they failed to divide the Luo and the Luyas, that's the Western and the Nyanza, now that's why you see now they are warming up, and hence the retreating in Mombasa. Most important is that ODM is no longer there. And if we are going to have ODM, it's another ODM. You saw Orengo declaring himself the party leader, and Wanga is there. And for him to talk about Oburu and all that, I think Oburu should just resign or call for the NDC and let now the people of ODM work. But as we go forward, we are going to have a new political wing emerging from the division in ODM, and that will put the Kenya Kwanza government in problem, because now they are also singing the same song which the alternative united opposition is saying. They are all saying one term. So when you have one term on that side, one term on this side, and you saw Oscar Sudi lecturing his people in Uasin Gishu, we have over 2 million people from his tribe with voters, with IDs, but they have not registered as voters. That is a frustration that they have.
Wakili, wrap it up for us.
Yes, I think, Fred, Kenyans actually want change. and they want to break the status quo. They are trying their level best. There is a lot of resistance by especially the Kenya Kwanza functionaries and those who want to benefit by the status quo. But I think Kenyans have decided. When you look at, you know, when the Kenya Kwanza came to power, everybody thought like, I mean, we are all going to be wiped out. We are not going to survive under this president. Oh, he's too much. He's going to push everybody out. But sooner or later, the government has realized that when people have a resolve, there's nothing much you can do. In fact, you can con them here, lie to them here, call this a radio instead of a phone, and then some people believe. But now Kenyans have realized that the fear is gone and they want change. And the change they want is so that everybody can put money in their pockets, economic conditions can soften up so that everyone who works can see results, as opposed to having to tax everything and finally, you know, never bring it back in terms of services. So I think Kenyans are hopeful. And it's not really now about Kasongo or William Ruto as an individual. I think Kenyans want change, and that change will come at the ballot here.
All right. Very interesting headlines today. We've been discussing that with my panelists. Mlima na Wachia Mungu is one of the most interesting on the front page of Taifa Leo. And I think Kangata, Kungatuka UDA, another very interesting one, and we were talking about that as well. 5% tax for Mitumba in 2026 financial bill, another one, an invitation for you to look at the finance bill. Have you even considered the finance bill of 2026? It is out there and something you need to know about. Ruto's boogeyman, and the question we were asking today, is retired President Uhuru Kenyatta justified to still be in active politics? Asanteni sana my panelists this morning. Ishmael Nyaribo, wakili, Dr. Daniel Ole Kanchuri, who's an advocate and management expert, and Fwamba NC Fwamba, political analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time at TV47. After the break, we switch gears. Matters Sports, Manu alifanya